So today I'm finally going to get round to doing my review of Revolutionary Road by Richard Yates. Revolutionary Road was published in 1986 and it's 337 pages. It's set in the 1950s and the main characters are Frank Wheeler, April Wheeler, Millie Campbell, Shep Campbell, Mrs. Givings, Howard Givings, and John Givings, which is Mrs. Givings and Howard Givings' son. So this book opens on a night of a disastrous opening night of the play at the Petrified Forest, which April stars in. And she is part of this theatre group called the Laurel Players on Revolutionary Road, which is where they live. Revolutionary Road follows the love story of Frank and April Wheeler. Frank is stuck in a monotonous job, forever filing papers and doing tedious administration things and working in an environment that's just really not that interesting. And April is a struggling and emotional mother of two. The plot basically follows the rollercoaster ride that is their marriage, and there are so many ups and downs. One minute they are madly in love, and the next week they'll hate each other. And I think it's a very real representation of human emotions, and there's a lot in there that you can identify with. It sort of explores the character's tendency to cling on to security and white lies in ruthless attempts to hold everything together, really. There were a lot of memory transitions in this book, and I was a bit wary of them at first because I thought, lots of memories, this could get really confusing. But honestly, the transitions between memory and novel were seamless. I couldn't find anything with them. You'd just sort of slip into this memory with the character, and then it would pull you back and it would be like, oh yeah, we're still in the same place. We're still doing the same thing. So I thought that was really awesome how they managed to portray the actual thought process of memories. Like, you're thinking about one thing and it will just take you off and you don't realise that you're being taken off by this memory. This book is beautifully descriptive and extremely vivid. There was so much symbolism and carefully thought out ways in which the author uses the words that he does. In this, he consciously uses a cyclical pattern with the plot to sort of emphasise the deception and the monotony and just the hopelessness of human life, really. It sounds extremely depressing, but it's very moving, and the character of April and the way that she interacts with Frank is an extremely interesting thing. I also really loved how Yates used an omniscient narrator. I loved that that gave you an insight into married life without the biased side of one character, so the multiple viewpoints really helped to build on the fact that this marriage just was not working. You'd have April in one chapter being complacent towards Frank and not caring and just being calm, and then in the next chapter she'll be just, her thoughts will be breaking down inside her. So because of the multiple viewpoints, the reader is in no way restricted to seeing everything. They can see whatever thoughts are going on, what's happening, who's having affairs with who, and it's just, it really adds to the dramatic irony of the novel, which I think really adds to the effect. It adds new layers to the story and just makes it even more heartbreaking. The characterisation for this novel is spot on. I adored how these characters were developed and how developed they were. It was insane how you felt like you knew what the characters would do in a certain situation, and I feel like it's kind of a method to try and say to the reader, like, if you know this character, what do you think she would do? And you find yourself thinking in terms of, oh, Frank shouldn't say that, April's gonna kick off again, or like the other way around. So you get to know the characters and you get to know what irritates them and what is going to cause a big bang, like a big explosion in their relationship. Each character was extremely individual and changed with the circumstances extremely well. Sometimes you sort of read a book and you see the character in a circumstance and think, he wouldn't do that, like, you just wouldn't. So it takes away from the reality of the book. But because this book was so pinpoint precise on everything and so thorough. You got more from it. It was so descriptive and it just pulled you in. It made the characters three-dimensional, and so you felt for them, and so you saw the themes of this book that's unrequited love and marriage and the troubles that come with it and money and all of the materialistic things, and it kind of brings in the American dream a little bit as well, but it's kind of a twisted American dream in that they want to escape rather than stay with their picket fence. To begin with, it's quite slow and quite repetitive in the cycles of the emotions with Frank and April. It's very bipolar. It's very much they're in love and they've had a fight and now they hate each other, and then they get over it. Like Frank goes and builds his path in the garden and then he gets over it, and then they carry on, they fall in love again, they have this amazing plan, and then they have this argument. And there was an element to that that just made it not boring, but it made it effective, because you could see the monotony of their lives and why they might want to get out of their lives. Furthermore, this cyclical pattern at the beginning is twisted, and there is an event which happens to the couple, and it's catastrophic in one of their eyes and not so much in the other. And you can just see the imbalance there, and you can sense the fighting, but at one point one of them carries on as per usual and normally, and it's heartbreaking to see. The last 5-6 chapters of this book had me hanging on and weeping because they were so intense and sad. Overall, I'd give this book 4 to 5 stars out of 5. I really loved it, and I think it was extremely well written, and there was such a lovely sense to it. It took me a while to get through the first bit of it, I'm not going to lie to you, but even though it was a long section to begin with that was cyclical, I didn't mind that. I didn't mind that it sort of lulled you into a false sense of security and then smack bang into the middle of this crisis, because that, to me, represents Frank and April's marriage. And the introduction of the character James, who is Mrs. Givings and Howard Givings' son, really shook things up a bit, because he has a mental problem and he's been in hospital for a while, and he just comes in and meets this family and just says it as it is. And as a reader, you're sat there thinking, you can't say that, but it's so true. Oh my god, that's going to cause so much trouble. So I loved it, and I would highly recommend it to anyone who wants to read it.